Now we have further confirmation of what we suspect. The reason there's no investigation or criminal prosecution proceeding, as it would in the ordinary course, is because of political interference. It's Hunter Biden. First up are the developments out of Congress related to the criminal activity alleged by Hunter Biden and the entire Biden clan, including the President of the United States, Joe Biden. I've been calling him RICO Joe, the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations law that is typically used to go after the mafia, I believe should be applied to Joe Biden, and for reasons that I think are pretty easy to see, given all the evidence on the Hunter Biden laptop, which is why the left had tried to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop successfully prior to Joe Biden being elected as an act of election interference, and since then. Now there's new information that the alleged investigation of the Hunter Biden laptop, if indeed there is an investigation, has been squelched, suppressed by the Justice Department. We have here a letter signed by a lawyer for a whistleblower that was sent to the top officials or top members of the Senate and the House responsible for oversight of the IRS and the Justice Department, etc. And this is what the letter says. I represent a career IRS criminal supervisory special agent who has been overseeing the ongoing and sensitive investigation of a high-profile controversial subject since early 2020 and would like to make protected whistleblower disclosures to Congress. Despite serious risks of retaliation, my client is offering to provide you with information necessary to exercise your constitutional oversight function and wishes to make the disclosures in a nonpartisan manner to the leadership of the relevant committees on both sides of the political aisle. My client has already made legally protected disclosures internally at the IRS through counsel to the U.S. Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration and the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General. The protected disclosures, number one, contradict sworn testimony to Congress by a senior political appointee, involve failure to mitigate clear conflicts of interest in the ultimate disposition of the case, and detail examples of preferential treatment and politics improperly infecting decisions and protocols that would normally be followed by career law enforcement professionals in similar circumstances if the subject were not politically connected. Some of the protected disclosures contain information that is restricted by statute from unauthorized disclosure to protect taxpayer and tax return information. And so he goes on to say, my goal is to ensure that my client can properly share his lawfully protected disclosures with congressional committees. Thus, I respectfully request that your committees work with me to facilitate sharing this information with Congress legally and with the fully informed advice of counsel. With the appropriate legal protections and in the appropriate setting, I will be happy to meet with you and provide a more detailed proffer of the testimony my client could provide to Congress. Now, all the reporting is that this is about Hunter and Joe, and that there's been interference by the Justice Department in the investigation or prosecution of Hunter Biden. Now, when it comes to contradicting sworn testimony by Congress by a senior political appointee, evidently, according to reports, that's the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland. So what is the status of this Hunter Biden investigation? Now, as I was discussing with you last week, the FBI at least was looking at Hunter beginning in 2018. We know separately they've had the Hunter Biden laptop since 2019. We also know that in 2020, Attorney General Barr, then who worked for Trump, believe it or not, suppressed and squelched any investigation of Hunter Biden. We also know since then that the FBI, there were FBI officials allegedly who were also trying to squelch the investigation of Hunter Biden and the laptop prior to the election. And since then, nothing's happened. Supposedly there's a Delaware U.S. attorney, so up there in Delaware, Biden's home state, that was blessed by Merrick Garland with investigating this. Now it's been, let's say, 2018 to 2023. What is that, 5 years of investigation and nothing as it relates to Hunter Biden in terms of prosecution? And now we know, now we have further confirmation of what we suspect. The reason there's no investigation or criminal prosecution proceeding as it would in the ordinary course is because of political interference. It's Hunter Biden. And everyone knows, based on what's been available publicly through the Hunter Biden laptop and through Tony Bobulinski, who was a partner of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, that you can't investigate or prosecute Hunter Biden without implicating Joe. So that's why they can't allow this to proceed. So they've got it up in Podunk, Delaware, right? So when you have an investigation being run out of Delaware, it means it doesn't have the resources that a regular serious investigation would have. In fact, the requirements of the Justice Department regulations are a special counsel is required. Now, of course, they appointed it for Trump with Robert Mueller, but not for Joe Biden and Hunter Biden on this topic. No, 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 that's not the way it's supposed to work. So that's kind of in-your-face evidence of corruption and suppression of a legitimate investigation into these issues. Now, what are the issues? Money laundering, acting as a foreign agent without disclosing it, bribery, extortion, tax violations, conspiracy. Who knows what else in terms of the misappropriation of federal funds and such. While Vice President Biden was vice president, and I suspect this corruption goes back prior to his role as vice president as a senator. He just didn't become corrupt when he was vice president, that's for sure. And so now we have an IRS whistleblower who's putting his career on the line. I would suggest he's putting his liberty on the line because you know the less response to those who blow the whistle on their friends, it's to try to prosecute and jail them. So he's risking everything to try to come forward under law to expose this government corruption that's protecting Joe and Hunter Biden. And now Judicial Watch obviously has its own separate FOIA investigations, but you know the IRS isn't going to tell us what they're doing. The Justice Department isn't going to tell us directly what they're doing. We can ask questions about it and gotten some indirect information. But this is the situation we're in. A top IRS official has suggested that senior levels of the Biden administration are obstructing justice, perjuring themselves before Congress to interfere with an investigation involving Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Does it get any worse than that? Where's the impeachment of Joe Biden? That's what I want to know, given the information that we're seeing here and the other information that's just lying out there in plain sight. We had more information coming out this week about the extent of the monies coming in from overseas to fund Biden Inc., to fund the Biden crime family. It's not just Joe, it's not just Hunter, it's not just Joe's brothers. Evidently, it's a half a dozen Biden family members who were getting this money laundered from foreign sources, according to the members of Congress who reviewed some of the Treasury reports about it. So there's more than enough to have a special counsel do a criminal investigation of the Biden family. Frankly, the rules and regulations of the Justice Department require that. And there's more than enough to have an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden over these issues. So we're going to see what happens. It's interesting, Biden was forced to respond to this, and he just did it by attacking those who were raising the questions and had no substantive response. The NBC News, for instance, had a report, I guess it was today or the other day, let's say just recently, that there were 4 criminal charges they were thinking of bringing against Hunter Biden. And they're all penny ante stuff, relatively speaking, given the scope of criminality that I've talked about. So they can't even do the minimal criminal indictments of Hunter Biden. And maybe you've noticed over the last few years, like every 6 months there's a story, oh, they're thinking about prosecuting Hunter. Every 6 months they're thinking about prosecuting Hunter. Who are they kidding? Who are they kidding? They're thinking about how not to prosecute Hunter. That's what's going on in the Biden Justice Department. I mean, we need the clean house at the Justice Department. We need the clean house at the FBI that enables all of this. I guess, the FBI is angry because they finished their investigation a year ago. Of course, the FBI also corrupted the investigation they supposedly finished a year ago. So all these deep state bureaucrats are pointing their fingers at each other over this corruption. And I tell you, we're facing a rule of law crisis in so many ways here. And you know, I've talked about the targeting of Trump, and this further highlights why the targeting of Trump is as much about protecting Biden and distracting from what Biden has done as it is about punishing Trump for daring to oppose Biden or getting in the way of the deep state. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.